Okay. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we welcome everyone to our Bhakti Vaibhava session. We're studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, and we're on chapter number 11 today. Chapter number 11 is entitled Lord Krishna's Entrance into Dvārakā. Right, I'll share the screen and we'll go to the PowerPoint. Is everyone able to see the PowerPoint? Hare Krishna?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, let's see. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nice Vyasa-san, well decorated. Okay, a little review, what we covered yesterday. We heard about the ladies in Hastinapur, and they were glorifying Lord Krishna. And it said the words of the ladies of Hastinapur were more glorious than the hymns of the Vedas. The words of the ladies of Hastinapur was also Vedic mantras, better than even the Vedic mantras. They're giving direct glorification of the Lord. They were personally able to see the form of the Lord there. So directly they were glorifying him. The Vedas glorify the Lord indirectly. By all the Vedas, the Lord is to be known. So these ladies, they had understood the purport of the Vedas. And we spoke about separation from the Lord and the feelings of the residents of Hastinapur, how they were all deeply attached to him, and they did not like to see him leave. Naturally, very painful to see the Lord leave them. And so they felt that pain of separation, but that separation itself was as good as being with the Lord. So the effect of separation was that it invoked the association of the Lord, because the mind is fixed on the Lord. Then we spoke about the principles of shyness and the need for gender separation. Not everybody agrees. Not everybody is in favor of these things. Modern society, certainly, the women are, in general, don't think they should be shy, and they also don't like to be separate from each other. But these are very important principles which make the women actually, it increases their attractive nature. Women become more attractive the more they're shy and the more women are separated. When the women mix freely, Then people think, oh, no need to marry. You can associate with women all the time. So we get so many people marry, or even if they do marry, they get divorced and then they get married again. And like this, because people don't observe these principles. These principles could help so much to solve the problems in the world today. So Dvārakā has defeated the glories of the heavenly planets. The heavenly planets are glorified. Oh, everybody's very intelligent, very nice there, no miseries, it's all very comfortable, a lot of sense gratification. But Dvārakā defeats the glories of the heavenly planets. Why? Because the people in Dvārakā are able to relish the association of the Lord. At every moment, the Lord rarely goes to the heavenly planets. The demigods in heaven, very rarely they get to see the Lord. We read about Lord Brahma. When Mother Bhumi was overburdened, she went to Lord Brahma to help her because the planet was overburdened with the demoniac kings. And Lord Brahma went and prayed on the shore of Svetadvip. He couldn't go and directly see the Lord. But the people in Dvārakā, they can see the Lord at every moment. So that is one of the benefits of being in the Holy Dham. So an appreciation for residing in the Holy Dham, we spoke a little bit about it, that you can remember more the pastimes of the Lord. And in the Holy Dham, you will find similar devotees of the Lord who are there, they reside there simply to increase their remembrance of the Lord. So it's a very conducive atmosphere for spiritual advancement. And it said, whatever service you do in the Holy Dham, you get many, many more times the benefit than what you get doing service in another place. So very powerful to live in the Holy Dham and to do service there. And then the principles of Lord Krishna's conjugal love. So we spoke a little bit about Lord Krishna's conjugal relationships. There's Parakya Rasa, Swakya and Parakya. Parakya Bhava is there in Vrindavan with the gopis, and Swakya Bhava is there in Dvārakā. And Lord Krishna enjoys loving relationships. And we heard how he accepted all 16,100 ladies who were considered, in terms of modern society, they were considered fallen. But Lord Krishna accepted all of them as his wives and married all of them. And gave each one of them a palace also. All right, are there any questions on these points which we covered yesterday on the chapter before, chapter number 10? Anybody has any questions? Anyone? No? Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, yes, Prabhu?
Yeah. Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question is in regard to the prayers of the women on the roof. So they were saying that the Lord never left his wives in Dvārakā. I can't remember the exact verse. So, but then later we see that we'll see in chapter 11 that Krishna comes back to Dvārakā, and they all come to meet him, and they were separated from him. So this seems like a contradiction.
His wives were separated from him?
All of the Dvārakā citizens. Well, it's not mentioned his wives specifically, but all the Dvārakā citizens came out to meet him, and they were very eager to meet him because of a long separation.
Yes.
But in the prayer in Hastinapur, in the prayer of the women on the roofs, they said the Lord never he never left his wives. I can find that verse if it's necessary.
Yeah, maybe you can tell me which verse you're talking about. I need to see exact verse.
Okay, I'm just looking for it. This is chapter 10, verse 30.
Verse 30.
Yeah, shall I
Okay.
read it?
Yeah, maybe you could just read it for me.
All these women auspiciously glorified their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations.
Yeah. So these ladies, all these women, auspiciously glorified their lives. So these ladies are these ladies who were in the prison of Bomasura, right? 16,100. That's who's being talked about,
Yes,
right?
yes, I guess. I think they're talking about the women of Dvārakā.
Well, they're talking about those women who,
Oh, okay.
it's mentioned particularly, they were without individuality and without purity.
Okay.
So these are all these women, as mentioned in the previous verse, the children of these ladies, all of these ladies are glorious. Oh, okay. All other ladies also were also forcibly taken away by him after he killed Bomasura. He's talking about all the wives, right? But particularly the 16,100 are there. All of these ladies are glorious. Their husband, the lotus-eyed, never left them alone at home.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes he did leave them. He'd go to like Kurukshetra. What was your
Yeah.
point?
So my question was, it seems like a contradiction. It is said he never left them, but he actually did leave them, as you just said, in the Kurukshetra war.
Yeah.
So it seems like a contradiction. That is my doubt.
No.
That did he leave them or did he not leave them, or maybe both?
Well, when he was at home, he enjoyed their company. I think that's the point. That when he was at home, then he would be with them and he enjoyed their company. But not that he was all the time with them.
Hmm.
We have to understand it in that sense. Certainly we'll see that he does go. Had to go to Kurukshetra. He has to go and do things. Yeah?
Yes.
But when he's at home, he will enjoy their company. All right?
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you.
So we'll go ahead. Is everybody able to see the slide? Okay.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, so the overview of the chapter 11, begins with Kṛṣṇa. We heard how in chapter 10, Kṛṣṇa was leaving Hastinapur, right? And he was traveling with his entourage. Maharaj Yudhisthira went with him part of the way, and then at a certain point, Lord Kṛṣṇa convinced Maharaj Yudhisthira to go back. And Kṛṣṇa continues with his entourage, and they come to Dvārakā. And as they're approaching Dvārakā, Lord Kṛṣṇa blows his conch shell. And the people in Dvārakā, they're able to hear the sound of Lord Krishna's conch shell, and the citizens all come running. They're eager. They're so happy. They've been waiting for Lord Kṛṣṇa to return, and they all come to greet him. And we'll be hearing today about how they greet him. And when they come to greet him, they offer nice prayers to him. And then the second section, we'll hear about the beauty of Dvārakā and the opulence, what it was like. We'll hear about the descriptions of Dvārakā, and we'll hear also about how the Lord was received and what is the proper reception in greeting the Lord and in greeting some very senior personality. Then Lord Kṛṣṇa enters into the city, and we'll hear how he exchanges affection, different relationships with different people, all kinds of people, and the Lord will reciprocate with them according to their position. Some people he will embrace, some people he will bow before, and some people he will just simply smile at them and wave to them. And then the final section, we'll hear about Lord Kṛṣṇa entering into each of his palaces. And we'll hear more about the spiritual nature of Kṛṣṇa's relationship with his queens. We want to understand carefully this pastime of Lord Kṛṣṇa having 16,108 queens. We want to know more about their spiritual position. Okay, so the chapter begins. Here you can see in the illustration, Lord Kṛṣṇa blowing his conch shell. So Lord Kṛṣṇa is entering into the country of Anarthas, which is another name for Dvārakā. Maybe some of you have been to Dvārakā. Any of you been to Dvārakā? Anyone?
Yes, Maharaj.
Oh, okay.
Hare
Only
Krishna,
one.
Maharaj.
Yes, you've been also?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, good. Any Matajis have been to Dvārakā?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, good. So you know what Dvārakā is like. Very, very kind of remote place, right? It's really far away, remote place. Right on the coast, you have to go through past all the salt lakes where they're making the salt. Finally, you get to Dvārakā. Dvārakā is right on the coast, so just like in Bombay, if the temple is in Mumbai, because Mumbai is near the sea, so the air is very salty. So it's very difficult for them when they make dresses for the deities, because everything corrodes. The salt in the air is very corrosive. And if you use jari on the dresses, then it corrodes. So usually they have to when they make dresses for the deities, they'll do them with beads rather than just using traditionally jari. And also even the marble corrodes. The marble also corrodes. So you'll see in Dvārakā, usually they build temples with granite. And our little ISKCON temple, which is built there, is also made of granite, because granite won't corrode the same as the marble. Anyway, Lord Kṛṣṇa, when he was there, his Dvārakā was the island. He had an island, right? He had the whole island, big island. Must have been a huge place because so many people were there. Anyway, hearing about it, Sutta Goswami said, upon reaching the border of his most prosperous metropolis, known as the country of Anarthas, Dvārakā, the Lord sounded his auspicious conch shell, heralding his arrival and apparently pacifying the dejection of the inhabitants. Yeah, the people of Dvārakā were dejected because Lord Kṛṣṇa was absent from the kingdom. And all these people living in Dvārakā, they're all Dhamvasis. They're very, very nice devotees. And the Lord has gone away. And so they're feeling the absence, they're feeling dejected. So when they hear the conch shell, they become enlivened. So here we have a description now in the second verse from this. The white and fat bowled conch shell, being gripped by the hand of Lord Kṛṣṇa and sounded by him, appeared to be reddened by the touch of his transcendental lips. It seemed that a white swan was playing in the stems of red lotus flowers. A white swan was playing in the stems of red lotus flowers. So this example is given here by Sukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami, right? Sutta Goswami speaking. This is the first chapter. Sukadeva has not appeared yet. First chapter is Sutta Goswami. So Sutta Goswami is given this example about the white swan. White swan, of course, is the conch shell, and the red lotus flowers, the lotus flower, well, the red lips are, of course, the lips of the Lord, and the stem of the lotus flower are the lotus feet of the Lord. So we remember that example, which is given in relation to that famous prayer by Maharaj Kulashekar, right? Maharaj Kulashekar said, Kṛṣṇa tvadiya padapankaja panjarantam ajaiva me vishatu manasa rajahamsa. Rajahamsa, the swan. He said, Manasa rajahamsa, let the swan of my mind become entangled in the stem of the lotus feet of the Lord. And so here also it's the stem of the red lotus flowers. So the swan likes to play in the stem of the lotus flowers, and sometimes the stem of the lotus will become wrapped around the neck of the swan. So here also the red lips of the Lord have touched the conch shell, and it appears to become reddened. So the example is given that everything is actually spiritual. And when it's used in the service of the Lord, then it becomes really spiritualized. So the conch shell, when it's sounded by the Lord, is fully transcendental. All of the ornaments, all of the paraphernalia of Lord Kṛṣṇa are all transcendental. Everything. The incense which we burn is transcendental. The instruments we play are transcendental. It's all meant for Lord Kṛṣṇa's glorification. And the conch shell also is for glorification. It's for the service of Lord Kṛṣṇa. Lord Kṛṣṇa is announcing his arrival in Dvārakā. And the conch shell is becoming transcendental in the hands of the Lord. Right? Sometimes we announce to people, sometimes in order to get an audience in a university or college program, sometimes we will announce something like, come and see matter made into spirit, right? Something mystical, just to get people's attention. Do you believe matter can be spiritualized? And we'll make a title like that for a talk. And so then we'll show them how when we use something in the service of Kṛṣṇa, everything becomes spiritual. So this is the nature of devotional service. And the conch shell is certainly transcendental. It's becoming reddened in the touch of Lord Krishna. Prabhupada explains, by ardent love and devotional service to the Lord, or in other words, by spiritual contact with the Lord, everything becomes spiritually reddened, like the conch shell in the grip of the Lord. The Paramahamsa, or the supremely intelligent person, plays the part of the ducking swan in the water of spiritual bliss, eternally decorated by the lotus flower of the Lord's feet. So we want to enjoy the lotus flower of the Lord's feet. We want to entangle our mind in the network of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. This is the purpose of devotional service. So here we have this nice artistic representation, Lord Krishna's arrival in Dvārakā. You can see it's not quite like that today. It's a bit more flatter. They seem to have made it very mountainous there. Anyway, here's Srila Prabhupada. So Lord Krishna is entering Dvārakā. Let me see just a minute, where's my notes? We want to talk a little bit about Dvārakā. Those of you who have been to Dvārakā, what are your impressions, you know? When we hear about a dham, before people come to a holy dham, we tell them, you know, you're going to Vrindavan dham, or we're going to go to Dvārakā dham, or Mathura dham, or different, Mayapur dham, Jagannath Puri dham, there are many dhams. The dham is different from a tirtha. People in the Sri Vaishnavas, they talk about tirthas, and there are 108 tirthas. Tirtha is a holy place, but it's not a dham. The dham is particularly a powerful place because the Lord resides there eternally. So, coming to the dham, sometimes people are a bit shocked. Not so much about Dvārakā, but when they come to Vrindavan, they may feel shocked. Vrindavan is somewhat primitive. Well, now, of course, it's very congested, and it's changed a lot over the years. And since Prabhupada's time, so many changes. We used to be quite remote there at the Krishna Balaram temple. Practically no one lived up at that end of the town of Vrindavan. People were all down in Lloyd Bazaar. And sometimes a bus would come by on that road, Krishna Balaram Road, or Bhaktivedanta Swami Marg, that road. And the bus would come by, not much traffic. Now, oh, it's just so much change. It's really a big difference. So, how do we, and from the descriptions which are given in the Bhagavatam, we have very nice descriptions, actually, the nature of Dvārakā, right? How is Dvārakā described in the verses in chapter 11 in Bhagavatam? Is it very pleasing, or is it very, what did you think of the descriptions? Or those of you who have been there, how did you find it? We can ask some Mataji to contribute here. Can we have some hands? Somebody like to contribute? Yes? Can you put your microphone on? I can't hear you. Very faint.
Okay, can you hear me right now?
Very faint.
Actually, the people were first of all very soft-hearted and they want to help everyone. That was the main thing.
I don't know what you're saying. It's not clear.
I'm sorry.
Maharaj, can you hear me? Actually, she was saying that the people were very soft-hearted and they were of very helping nature.
Other people. Are you talking about the inhabitants of Dvārakā?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, the people were soft-hearted and they were very helpful. Okay, that's something unusual. We don't find that usually in a big city. Right? We want to compare the description of Dvārakā as it's given here in the Bhagavatam and a modern day metropolis. How do they compare?
Another point which was mentioned is that architecture of the temples was very nice, very, very attractive and very nice.
The architecture or the architecture of the temples. Okay. Not a great number of temples there. Few temples. It's not a very big place today, Dvārakā. The way it's described in Srimad Bhagavatam, very big. They talk about highways and 16,108 palaces for Krishna's queens. So that's certainly very different. But the description given in Bhagavatam, the description of Dvārakā,
filled with opulences.
sorry?
Filled with opulences of all seasons.
Okay, opulences of all seasons.
Flower gardens. Fruit
Yes.
orchards. Yes.
Flower gardens, orchards, ashrams, lakes. There were many different birds.
No factories.
Yes, Prabhupada talks about that. In the modern metropolis, people live in slums. Some time back, I was in New Delhi, and I saw that they had a sign on the roadside that said, old slum, and then another sign said new slum. You know, I was surprised, you know. They actually put the sign up which said old slum and then new slum. And so this is modern day metropolis. People have to live in slums. They have to live in horrible environments, and they have to work in horrible atmospheres, in factories and mills. just to fill their belly, just to get some money to fill their belly. But actually, the Vedic way of life is to live off the land. Of course, people, they may say they have no land. They may not have any land, so they come to the city looking for work. But there's a lot of work in the countryside. If they will work, they can work in the countryside. They don't need to stay and come to the city to work. There's a lot of, they need people to work. Sometimes in the villages nowadays, they don't have enough workers to plant the rice. They don't have people to do all the work which they're supposed to do in the countryside to produce the food. Everyone's gone off to the city, to work in the cities, to work in the factories, or to get some office job. Nobody wants to do the honest work which the farmer will do, the simple work of working the land, taking care of cows. So Dvārakā was the ideal place. It was very pleasing to the mind when you go to such a place where nature is respected and where nature is given a chance to provide proper facilities and nature is not disturbed by the industrial environment, then the mind feels so much more peaceful. And Prabhupada talks about how the big wealthy men, those who have big positions and power, they like to come to the countryside. When they get time, when they get free time, they will come, they have their countryside home, and they will live there. We see here in Navadvip Dham, when we go on parikrama, we go to visit different parts of Navadvip Dham, and many places we will see there are big houses there which are all locked up, deserted. And the people who own the houses, they've gone off to Delhi or Mumbai or Calcutta, and they keep their home there and they just lock it up and they go away. They don't like to live there. But they have the house. They have the house, they own land there, but they go off to the city. They want to live in the city. Just like all the rats and cockroaches, they all like to go in these dirty, crowded places. So the same way people go and come, they go to the city and they live in some apartment building, packed in some apartment building, so many people on top of each other, and you look out the window and you look into another person's apartment, everything's all so packed and crowded together. No proper air, the air's all polluted by the traffic and the congestion, and it's very dangerous also. There's so much crime, robberies. But in a place like Dvārakā, you're more safe. In this holy Dham, it's a spiritual atmosphere, and you can feel the natural beauty of the place. It's very easy to appreciate the natural beauty. Just like when you go to Govardhan, you go around Govardhan, you can see the beauty of Govardhan. Nowadays, they're restoring many of the places around the Govardhan. It's becoming more and more beautiful, restoring it back to its original nature. So the holy land of Dvārakā, very special place. So Lord Kṛṣṇa has come back there, and we're going to, then we go on to hear about the reception, how the people, they all come out to greet him, and Prabhupada talks about how to properly receive the honored guest. Described here, the Vedic way of receiving a great personality creates an atmosphere of respect, which is saturated with affection and veneration for the person received. The auspicious atmosphere of such a reception depends on the paraphernalia described above. Such a program of reception is full of sincerity on the part of both the receiver and the received. All right, so you have to receive a great personality. Prabhupada is coming, right? In the picture, you can see a reception, Srila Prabhupada's come. So, what are you going to do? You can see Prabhupada's got a big garland. They must have given Prabhupada a garland. They're holding an umbrella over his head. Any other things you'd like to do when you have to receive a Srila Prabhupada? Or Srila Prabhupada is coming? Or Srila Prabhupada's representative is going to come? How are you going to welcome them? What is the proper arrangements for the reception of an honored guest? Can we have some hands up?
With Kirtan, Maharaj.
Yes? Who's got their hand up? Sachitanai Prabhu?
Yes, Maharaj. Maharaj, when Prabhupada or followers of Prabhupada come, we usually chant the holy name of Lord, sing and welcome him with garland and with proper etiquettes. We welcome him with by praying, by offering flowers, and as we can see in this picture also, by holding the umbrella and doing chama.
Okay, so you're going to do kirtan, you said?
Yes, Maharaj.
Anything else which I didn't mention? I mentioned about the umbrella and the flower garlands. Anything else you're going to do to make the proper reception?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Prabhu.
Maharaj, I was thinking sometimes when such personalities arrive at their destination, then we would do Guru Puja sometimes and do foot bathing.
Pada Puja, yes.
Yes.
Sometimes, yes, Prabhupada allowed devotees to do that for him. He said, when the devotees did it the first time, he said, oh, you are learning. Prabhupada hadn't told them to do it, but as the devotees were reading the books, they were understanding more what is the proper standard of reception. However, you have to be careful about this. In some parts of the world, that this is a dangerous thing. You know, like if you go to some countries where there's maybe a communist country, you know, where people are, or a socialist country, people are not in favor of this worship of men. Worship of men is not encouraged, it's not appreciated. And they will, sometimes they will, people will take they'll make criticism, they really become offended by it. They will criticize it, they say, look at this. You know, they don't recognize that this is a great personality. So we have to be a bit careful about doing these kind of functions, like offering worship and bathing the feet, these kind of things. Where it's the culture here in India, it's not recognized in other countries often, and it's difficult for people to understand, and they may criticize it. So we in some parts of the world, we are very careful about this. But some other things which can be done.
Yes, Maharaj. We also used to sometimes shower the flowers on the personality when they came.
Yes. Scatter some flowers on the heads.
Yes.
Maybe from above, like.
Yeah, we have windows on the up the way how it's going to the temple. So we used to shower of flowers on the gurus.
Yes, right. And we read about Krishna's wives there up on the roof of the palaces. They also throw flowers down onto Lord Krishna. Okay. Something else?
Maharaj, if you have time permission, is there, may I say?
Yes.
Offering humble obeisances and offering Charnamrit and offering Mahaprasad.
Can you say again?
Offering Charnamrit and offering Mahaprasad and offering humble obeisances.
Yes. First, you want to offer the obeisances. Yes. And then Charanamrit. Where are you going to get the Charanamrit from?
We will arrange it from the temple beforehand.
Well, usually that would be done at the temple. When you go to see the deity, after seeing the deity, then you take Charanamrita.
Okay, Maharaj.
It's not customary to bring the Charanamrita to give him just at the airport or something. That's not done. But at the temple, after seeing the deity, then you take Charanamrita.
Okay.
But Mahaprasadam, that can be done. That should be done. There should be distribution of food. That's a very important element in the reception. That there must be the distribution of prasadam to people. I remember when Prabhupada came one time in New York, we prepared a big plate of fruit for Prabhupada. Prabhupada liked fruit, actually. And when he saw the fruit, he took a piece of watermelon. Prabhupada liked very much watermelon. He took some watermelon. And then after Prabhupada had taken something, then he said, distribute. So like that, we offer first to the great personality, and then his remnants, whatever's should be all there should be food, prasadam distribution. Prasadam distribution is a very, very important part of the reception of a big guest. And then, of course, there will be also words of praise and welcome. And when Prabhupada would come, just like you can see Prabhupada, there's a film recording of it, Prabhupada coming into Delhi, coming back from America, and some of his disciples had already come there, and they brought the mayor, and they brought other important men, big politicians to come and meet Prabhupada. So when you have that opportunity, if you have that recognition from the local authorities, then you can also get leaders of society like statesmen and government leaders and dignitaries to come and to meet Prabhupada and to greet him. And we would do like that. And Prabhupada would appreciate that very much. And he liked that also when he was residing at the temple. He would like to meet and to discuss with important men. While Prabhupada was in London, we would bring different people to meet him. Sometimes, famous statesmen from the past, or sometimes sportsmen, and sometimes entertainers, different people, but prominent people, well-known people, and Prabhupada would enjoy to talk with them. So like this, how to make a nice reception for the pleasure of the Lord and for the Lord's devotees. So in this regard, we also talk about festivals which take place in the temple, right? Let's go ahead. Oh, one important part we didn't discuss was about those people who came to greet the Lord when he arrived at Dvārakā. And among those people who were there, right? Maybe you remember who was all there? Among the different people who came to greet Lord Kṛṣṇa when he arrives at Dvārakā were the prostitutes. And it's described here, I'll just read it. It appears that the prostitutes of Dvārakā, who were so eager to meet the Lord, were all his unalloyed devotees. And thus they were all on the path of salvation, according to the above version of the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, the only reformation that is necessary in society is to make an organized effort to turn the citizens into devotees of the Lord. And thus all good qualities of the denizens of heaven will overtake them in their own way. All right, so there were many different people who all came to greet Lord Kṛṣṇa. It's described, and it particularly mentions about these ladies who were the prostitutes of Dvārakā. And they're described as being very beautiful. Their beautiful faces with dazzling earrings, and, you know. So how can we understand this? Of course, is bewildering for ordinary people to think that Dvārakā is a dham, a holy place, and in the holy place there are prostitutes. What is this? First of all, who can respond to this? How is it possible there could be prostitutes in a holy dham? Anybody would like to take up this subject matter, respond to it? Murli Manohar?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I was just thinking that the quality of the persons at that time were underlying much more dharmic, and you say much more dharmic. So even though they may have had occupations like a prostitute, they were probably more of substantial character than the people in Kali Yuga. So they could, unfortunately, could be in that occupation, but they would still remain devoted to the Supreme Lord. The underlying character of people in that age were much more better than it is now. Now such prostitutes today are very, very degraded, very, very unpleasant and degraded. But in that time, because it was more dharmic atmosphere, even if they had that occupation as a prostitute, they were still somewhat, somewhat civilized. That's one thought.
Okay, yes, I appreciate this point. Yes, that certainly today it's a very different business. That first of all, these ladies, although they're prostitutes and they're engaged in this unpleasant business, Srila Prabhupada explains, he says, sometimes just due to some unfortunate circumstance a woman may be put into that position that she has to take up this kind of engagement in order to maintain her life. And Prabhupada then also explains that there will be a class of men who are fallen, and who, for this fallen kind of man, the one wife at home is not enough to satisfy his senses, that he has to go to other women. And in order for this purpose, in order to satisfy this fallen man's senses, the class of women they are prostitutes. And Prabhupada explains it's better that there are prostitutes in the society in those circumstances. Otherwise, a man, this fallen man who's going woman hunting, he may seduce innocent women, and he may induce other women into the prostitution business. So it's better that there are women who are actually engaged in this way as prostitutes, rather than allowing chaste women and women who are have some purity to be degraded. We have to understand that this kind of need is there among people, certain fallen people in the world today. So, 5,000 years ago, it was like that. But as Murli Manohar Prabhu is saying, the prostitutes in those days were more dharmic. In other words, they knew who their customer was. And they were not out there to seduce any man, to just take whoever's got money, come and be my customer, the way it is today. But 5,000 years ago, these women who were prostitutes, they knew their customer, they knew the particular man who was their customer. And at the same time, they're devotees. And they're described as unalloyed devotees. They really love Kṛṣṇa. And that's why they've come to greet Kṛṣṇa when the Lord has come. They've all come to greet him. They're just unfortunate. So how to understand it? It's mentioned they were all on the path of salvation according to the above version of the Bhagavad Gita. Right? Which verse in the Bhagavad Gita is being described?
Is it Apichet Surajato Padachayam Ananyapak? Sadaiva Mantavya Samyak Vyasato Hisha. Even if one commits the most abominable actions, if they're still considered saintly if they're rendering devotional service. Could that be it?
Well, I think it might be another one. I was thinking Striyo Vaishyas Tata Sudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim.
Yeah, that's correct, Maharaj. Of course, yes. Thank you.
Even though one may be of lower birth, women, Sudra or Vaishya, they can attain the supreme destination because they are rightly situated. So these prostitutes are on the path of salvation. They're not very happy doing that work, but they have to do it. They have to maintain themselves somehow due to unfortunate circumstances. They're put into that position. But at the same time, they're devotees and they're cultivating the mood of love for the Lord. And by doing devotional service, gradually they will become purified. They will become purified. Prabhupada writes that devotional service does not depend on one's occupation or birth or social position. Anybody can take up devotional service from any position. Doesn't depend on your occupation. And so they have this unfortunate occupation, but they're devotees. So the important point is to encourage people in their devotion. I was thinking another example. Prabhupada went to Jakarta, Indonesia. And when he was there, he met this one man, Indian man. The man said, I love Kṛṣṇa Swamiji, but I also love wine. So Prabhupada told him, So when you drink your wine, you should think this wine, this is the taste of Kṛṣṇa. He said, you just think like that. Every time you're drinking wine, you just remember this wine is the taste of Kṛṣṇa. And in this way, you become purified. And gradually, as they get purified, they will be able to give up their sinful activities. So Prabhupada states here, the only reformation that is necessary in society is to make an organized effort to turn the citizens into devotees of the Lord. And thus, all good qualities of the denizens will overtake them. So somehow get people to become devotees. The rules and regulations come later. Just get people to become devotees. This is the principle in preaching Krishna consciousness, right? Don't worry about the rules and regulations. Get people to be devotees. And these prostitutes, they had devotion. They all came to meet Lord Krishna, to welcome him. And they're eager to see the Lord. On the other hand, those who are non-devotees have no good qualification whatsoever. However, they may be materially advanced. The difference is that the devotees of the Lord are on the path of liberation, whereas the non-devotees are on the path of further entanglement in material bondage. Right? This statement here, Prabhupada is basing on that the verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes that one who is a devotee of the Lord has all good qualities. Yashyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunais tatra samase suraha. Right? One who is a devotee has all good qualities. One who is not a devotee, even though he may be very expert in controlling his senses, he's very expert in raising his family, he's very expert in mystic yoga, but if he's not a devotee, he doesn't have any good qualities because he's under the modes of nature, and he's just going to remain under the modes of nature. But one who is a devotee, he will transcend the modes of nature. Prabhupada had the experience. He went into the post office one time in India, and the man in the post office was talking to Prabhupada, and the man in the post office said, why I have to be a devotee? Why? He said, I'm a good man, I'm honest, I don't steal, I don't lie, I don't cheat. But Prabhupada said, no, if you're not a devotee, sometimes you will do these things, sometimes you're under the modes of nature. Sometimes you're in goodness. Nature of the mode of goodness is sometimes passion, sometimes ignorance. You cannot avoid it. If you're not a devotee, you really don't have any good qualities. It's just a question of time. Sometimes some good qualities, other times bad qualities. But one who is actually a devotee, they're on the path of liberation. So these prostitutes, even though they're in that unfortunate occupation, they're devotees and they're going to get advanced. And remember, they're devotees in the holy Dham. Of course, is it good that they're doing this business in the holy Dham? Well, I don't know. We have to consider what is their consciousness. They're maybe more attached to being in the holy Dham than they are attached to being prostitutes. They don't want to leave the holy Dham because in the holy Dham, they've got the opportunity to see Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna's coming. Okay, any questions or comments on that? Anybody else like to contribute about the prostitutes in Dvārakā?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yes?
I have a question.
Yeah.
It seems to me that the prostitutes were more closer to Krishna when they meet him on the street than the chaste women who were on the roofs on the buildings, and it seems to me a little bit unfair, or why they were on the streets and they weren't like the chaste women.
Yes, it's an interesting point, Mataji. Thank you. You brought up, yes. We do hear about the chaste ladies, like Krishna's wives and so on. They're described to be on the roof of their buildings. They didn't come down on the street. And Prabhupada talks about it, how they observed the segregation of the genders. They showed the shyness because they were cultured, respectable ladies. So they didn't go out on the street with the mass of people. Well, because their homes were there, they could actually see the Lord coming there. But for the other prostitutes, you know, the Lord is not going to come to their home. He's not going to go there where they live. They went to see the Lord. So they didn't have that facility. They didn't have the rooftop house where they could go to actually see the Lord. They had to just be there on the street. But of course, they would observe some segregation. They wouldn't be able to directly go and to be close to the Lord. They would keep some distance back. That would be observed. That's the custom, that the ladies they'll see the Lord from the distance, although they're not able to go on the roof. But the other ladies, those queens of Dvārakā, they can go on their rooftop and they can they can see the Lord coming from there. That's how I understand it anyway.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Anybody else? Any other comments?
Maharaj, I have one.
Yes, Prabhu.
It's a question.
Yes.
It's kind of, in one sense, surprising that in such a holy environment, that there such a transcendentally surcharged environment, that there is even a need for prostitutes. You know, I understand in general the point, you know, of the need for prostitutes so that lusty men won't induce proper cultured ladies into, you know, their entanglement. But it just seems odd, you know, that there would be a need for them in Dvārakā. That's the question. Or the
well, we have to consider how big is Dvārakā. You know, it's not that it's not like everybody's just only Kṛṣṇa and Krishna's family and Krishna's devotees. There's a lot of other people there in Dvārakā. And it's described in the chapter, it also mentions the different people who all come out to greet Lord Kṛṣṇa, right? There were musicians and dancers and singers, actors, there was geologists, geologists, is it? Yeah, geologists, and so many different people, different scholars and pundits, and so many people were there. It was really a city because so many people, Kṛṣṇa had a huge family, you know, 16,000 wives, and each wife has 10 children. And then there's so many brahmanas and pundits there, and so many other people. You know, it's a huge metropolis, right? But still, it was very beautiful. Even though there were so many people, still it kept the beauty. The beauty of Dvārakā was maintained. It didn't become an industrial hell. So the atmosphere was good, but there's a lot of people. A lot of different people needed, and you know, there has to be also teachers and shopkeepers and cooks and all different people cleaning and doing things. We heard about when Lord Krishna is coming, they have to, everything is kept very clean, and they sprinkle the streets with water, fragrant water, which is already, they put the aroma, they put some flower petals into the water, so the water is very fragrant. And they've used this water to wash the streets. So everything is so pure and sanctified, but there's a lot of people to do all of this. You've got all the workers doing all of this. And not everybody's going to be the pure devotee. This is the point. Not everybody is a pure devotee there in Dvārakā. Just like we know in Vrindavan, Vrindavan's a holy place, but you've got all kinds of people. You know, well, here in Mayapur, we know what goes on. We just had a murder here in Mayapur. So you've got mafia and that kind of thing here in the holy place. Although it's a holy place, and there's a lot of people, but there's different kinds of people. So you do have that problem. You have people who are fallen, and they have material desires. Even though they may have some devotion, they like to be in the holy place, but they're fallen souls. They can't control their senses. That's not enough just to have the wife. They get more enjoy. They want to have they want to go to the prostitute. Kavi Chandra Swami told me about Japan. He said in Japan, he said the Japanese woman, you know, the men, they just feel so uncomfortable with their wives at home because their wife is at home, you know, she's always nagging, always on their case and complaining to the husband. So the Japanese men, they like to go to prostitutes also. Although they have a nice wife, well, the wife is nice, but at the same time she talks. You know, women can talk harshly sometimes. You know, Prabhupada writes, he said, the tongue of a woman is so sharp, it can cut you to pieces, will cut your heart to pieces. And so they can talk sometimes very harsh. So the men, just to get away from their wife, they go to prostitutes, and you know, they go to the prostitute, and the prostitute will joke with them, and you know, they have it's a very different company being with the prostitute. So even though the man is married, he's not, he goes to the prostitute for his sense gratification. So even though the man, he's a bit pious, he's living in the holy place, and he's a devotee to some extent, but he can't follow the principles. He's not strict. And this is why you have things like prostitutes in a big city, a big place like Dvārakā. That's how I would understand it. Yeah? Is that all right?
Yeah.
People just have to get away from their wives sometimes. Okay. So, the Lord is coming. It's like a festival. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada goes on to discuss about how the Lord is coming, and everybody's out there in the streets, and there's kirtan, and the different musicians are coming, and they're performing and everything. It's really a festival. Because the Lord of Dvārakā has come. And so everybody comes to greet him, and not only the prostitutes, but all the musicians and the entertainers and the dancers and everyone. And so it's a festival. So festivities in the temple of the Lord, as held generally, are like festivals performed during the manifestive days of the Lord of Dvārakā. Just like when Kṛṣṇa was present, it was a festival. So the same way with the deity, Prabhupada explains this is why the acharyas will install deities in the temple. And in this way, they will have also festivals. They will recreate the festival of the Lord appearing, the Lord coming into the holy Dham. And we have these nice festivals. You have festivals like Julan Yatra and Janmastami, these kind of festivals. Authorized acharyas install such temples of the Lord under regulated principles just to offer facilities to the common man. People, you know, the Lord appeared 5,000 years ago, but we get the taste of the Lord appearing when we go to celebrate Janmastami. We go there, we see, you know, we bathe the deity of Lord Kṛṣṇa. It's a festival, it's a wonderful festival. Or Julan Yatra, you put the Lord on the swing, you pull the swing. Damodar Leela, that's also another festival. Damodar, the month of Damodar, where we offer the lamps every day and sing Damodar prayers. These kind of festivals, they help us to feel the presence of the Lord by these festivals. Just as 5,000 years ago, the devotees performed these in the presence of the Lord, we can feel the Lord present today in the deity form. The deity is also the form of the Lord. It's not different from the Lord. It's also Archa Vigraha. It's the Lord's internal potency. He appears, different incarnations, and the deity is one of his incarnations. We have to worship the deity in the proper way. So everybody's taken part in festivals. We know coming soon, Gaur-Purnima festival, Nityananda Trayodasi also, and these festivals, they attract many people. If you go to Eka Chakra at the time of Nityananda Trayodasi, big crowds, so many people, and they want to worship the Lord. So this is the mercy of the acharyas. We open the temple, build the temple, and we want to, you have to celebrate these festivals. If you don't celebrate the festival, it's a great offense. We saw last year, because of the COVID virus, there was no public Rath Yatra, but still the Pandits at Jagannath Puri, they got permission to celebrate the festival. And they did Rath Yatra with no people present. But still they pulled the chariot all the way to Gundicha and back. They did the festival just as they do every year. They got the permission to do it. So very important to observe these festivals. And certainly a lot of spiritual purification, powerful spiritual atmosphere. You go to these festivals, you can really feel the presence of the Lord. All right, so Lord Kṛṣṇa has come into Dvārakā. And in Dvārakā, of course, he has all of his queens. So who are these queens? We see here, purport of text 37. Queens were also expansions of his internal potency. And thus the potent and potencies are perpetually exchanging transcendental pleasure, known as pastimes of the Lord. All right, so maybe you can, we can make some groups and you can just spend some time to go through this final section and tell us something more. Give us the nature of Lord Kṛṣṇa and his queen's relationship in Dvārakā. We want to understand how Lord Kṛṣṇa's pastimes with his queens are not of this material world. And how can we present the fact that Lord Kṛṣṇa had 16,108 queens? How can we present this fact to an audience of people who are not devotees? how can we properly present it to them so that they can understand Lord Krishna's pastime in Dvārakā? What points would you like to present? We'll put you in groups and you can discuss how we can present Lord Krishna's pastime of having 16,108 queens. How can we present this fact to a modern day audience who are not very much devoted? Is it clear? Prabhu is there? Padmasundari's husband?
Yeah. Yes, Maharaj.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Groups, Prabhu?
Yeah. How many groups you want to create, Maharaj?
How many devotees we have?
It is 23.
So 6 people a group.
Okay.
6 4, so 24.
How much time?
10 minutes.
Okay, so
which are the verses that we should consider? What are the total verses? Like, if you could guide us with the verses we should consider, or different groups have to focus on different verses, or everybody has to focus on all the verses?
Maharaj, there is a doubt.
What's the doubt? Yes, what's the doubt?
Doubt is, Maharaj, regarding the verses. Every group has to focus on all the verses, or each group has to focus on separate verses. And what are the verses which we have to focus on?
What's he asking? What are the what?
What verses do you want each group to focus on, or do we all do the same ones? Or?
Yeah, you all do the, yeah, okay, well, there are different verses. There's a lot of verses, right? It's between 30 to 39. So we got 6 groups. So group 1 can take text 30, 31, and 31 and 30. Group 1 and 2 take 31 and 32. And group 3 and 4 can take 33, 34, 35, 36. And group 5 and 6 will take 37, 38, 39.
Is it clear? Shall I create a group, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Maharaj?
Yes.
Maharaj, is it from verse number 30 to 39 or 36 to 39?
36 to 39.
36 to 39.
Yeah. Please accept your groups.
Okay, everyone back now?
Yeah.
All right, so let's hear from group 1. Who's going to be the spokesman for group 1?
Yes, Chandrika Mataji.
Chandrika Mataji, yeah. Chandrika Mataji? What's happening?
Okay, I can say if she is not there.
Okay, go ahead, Murari Prabhu. Yeah.
Yeah, so one point was that the omnipotency of the Lord, that the Lord had made for the all queens the 16,000 of palaces, which were fulfilling all their desires. So, so Mataji, she can continue. We decided to her.
No, please, Prabhu, you continue because something happened with my internet and I just came now. I didn't know what did you say. So,
okay. So the Lord make for all the queens the palaces which were fulfilling all their desires. So in this way, Lord is taking care of all of them, not just like in these days when men have some more women, so they put them in one place, and he was taking care about all of them. And also he's known as Yogeshwar, so he was able to expand himself in 16,000 forms. Not just ordinary yogin can expand maximum in 8 forms. So this is the omnipotency of the Lord, and we should understand that he is not an ordinary living being like ourselves are, even if he seems like that. So this was the main point. And then also it was described that the Lord is the original or the only enjoyer is a male, and all living beings are females. So that we can be happy only when we are engaged in the service of the Lord, because this is the nature of this world, is not satisfying us. So in the service of the Lord we can be fully satisfied, like the queens of the Dvārakā. So
all right, okay, so the Lord is able to expand himself. He can maintain each of every lady, gives a palace for each and every one of them, and he expands himself. Did he marry each of every lady?
Yes.
How did he do that?
Yeah, he was he had with every queen, he had separate marriage.
All at the same time?
No, not all at the same time. He married each queen separately.
The 16,000 queens all married separately?
Yes.
No, that's not right.
No.
He expanded himself 16,100 times.
Yeah.
So all at the same time, not only did he expand himself, Vasudeva and Devaki also expanded themselves, and they came to each of the marriages.
Yeah, I was thinking like that. Sorry, Maharaj.
Yeah. So he fulfilled all of the duties of a husband, married properly according to the religious principles, and provided homes for them, maintains them. Okay, inconceivable, yes. But we have to hear. What is inconceivable to our mind and senses can be understood by hearing. Okay, we'll go on to group 2. Can we have somebody from group 2? Who is the spokesman?
Yes, Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Yes,
So,
Prabhu.
Group was, the main point is that God is great, and we should not assume that is not one of us. And the potencies of the Lord are unlimited. It is not compared to our potencies. And in order to impress that God is great in the history of the human being on the surface of the earth, he has manifested his potency by showing the marrying 16,108 wives. And also to show how his greatness is. Though he can manifest into unlimited and many-fold millions of wives, but just 16,000, just a very fraction of his potencies. Another point is Kṛṣṇa is called a Yogeshwara. A normal yogi can only manifest into 10-fold expansion of his body, but Lord can expand into many thousands or infinitely. There is no limit for his expansion. And the relationship between the queens and the Kṛṣṇa is not on the material platform. It's a transcendental. It's always transcendental platform. And we cannot imagine or estimate the greatness of the Lord with our tiny brain. It is beyond, or is unlimited and beyond our imagination. How greatness is, and Lord can marry many more with his potencies.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Very nice presentation. Very fine. All right, let's hear from group number 3. We heard here from group 1 and 2, they explained how the Lord has inconceivable potencies beyond our mind and senses. And we heard about how he showed that by his marrying so many ladies and providing a palace for each of them. All right, group 3, who's going to be the spokesman? Is it Gopal Ganesham?
No,
Group 2.
Sri Ram Nitai Prabhu, I think, is going to do ours.
Krishna Maharaj, on behalf of Group 3, and the identity of the queens of Dvārakā revealed, it is mentioned that they are the internal potencies of the Lord. So in that sense, the Lord has been enjoying with the internal potency, but whereas for the mundane people, it's appearing like a mundane affair. And the women's beauty are revealed here. The women of Dvārakā are more attractive, that they even attract the Cupid. But Kṛṣṇa is not so attracted to them. And one more point is the attraction between them is always ever fresh. And they never get bored on seeing the same lotus feet again and again. And they always have a newer feeling on looking at the lotus feet of Lord Kṛṣṇa. And these women have attained their position because of long periods of austerities. And this is a perfection of their austerities. So such was the position of the queen's attraction to the Lord. And the Lord had 16,108 palaces, different palaces for each of them, so which is not possible for a normal human being.
Yeah. So, very interesting. You're describing to us, these women, they did austerities for many lifetimes in order to get that position of becoming queens of Kṛṣṇa. And as queens of Lord Kṛṣṇa, sometimes they will smile and use their womanly charm. Women smile and they'll move in different ways to attract the mind of their husband. But although Cupid would be bewildered seeing the beauty of these queens, Lord Kṛṣṇa's mind was never bewildered. Actually, Bhagavatam said even sober-minded Lord Shiva would be bewildered by the beauty of these queens and by their movements. But Lord Kṛṣṇa was always controlled. He was always peaceful and happy, calm. And he was never controlled by these women. He didn't allow himself to come under their control. He is the controller of everyone. And these ladies are his, as we heard in the previous, as Prabhu said, these women they're the Prakriti. He's the Purusha, and they're the Prakriti. They're the feminine. They're his energy. They're for his enjoyment. But Lord Krishna is not controlled. He doesn't allow himself to become degraded by them. All right? Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Group number 4.
Pranams Maharaj, this is Virgopal Das. So most of the points have already been covered. We can just say that the Lord is the genuine proprietor and enjoyer of everything manifested in his creation. Prabhupada's words. However, we are deluded, controlled by the three modes of nature, and therefore we cannot understand the Leela of Krishna. This is one additional point. Rest of the points have already been mentioned, Maharaj. Lord is Atmaram, he is self-satisfied. So therefore the relationship was not based on mundane aspects that we consider to be. So these were some additional points, Maharaj.
Yeah, this is very nice. The Lord is Atmarama. Atmarama, one who is satisfied in the self. So he doesn't need anything for his pleasure. But at the same time, everything is his. It's all his. The whole material creation is his. So he has nothing to possess because it's already his. So because he's Atmarama, he's fully satisfied. He's not thinking, oh, I will enjoy, oh, this looks nice. Or he's not controlled by the mind and senses as we are, we conditioned souls. The Lord is always transcendental. Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Let's hear group 5.
Hare Krishna, Maharaji.
Hare
Maharaj, it's from last 3 sloka, 37, 38, 39. First important point which group identified that here out of the 5 rasa, the 5th rasa, the love, and that is husband-wife relationship, that is demonstrated between Krishna and wives of Krishna. Second thing, in 38 sloka, it is told that as Krishna is unaffected by material nature, his surrendered devotees are also unaffected by the material nature. So both are unaffected by material nature. But third point, on the same time, due to the internal potency, these wives forget that Krishna is the Supreme Personality. They think that Krishna is our beloved husband who just follow what we say, accept whatever we want to him to accept. So that is the beautiful relationship due to the internal potency. And on the second part of the question, that how people we can tell the non-devotees. So here Srila Prabhupada in purport say that foolish people, due to their poor fund of knowledge, they accept one side of picture, but they don't accept the second side of picture.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So if you accept one side of picture, means if you accept Bhagavatam, if you accept all these things, then you have to accept that Krishna at once can marry 16,108 wives. And if you accept this, then all other things, all other pictures will be clear to you. And devotees also, we also discussed that in the Bhagavad Gita 9.11, Krishna say that foolish consider him as a simple human being. So until unless one understand on that plane that Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are transcendental and Krishna is not a person, then they will not be able to understand all these transcendental activities.
Can you just explain this again about the one side? They accept one side, they don't accept the other side. What is the one side and what is the other side?
Srila Prabhupada saying that they are they, without considering that the Lord can at once marry 16,000 wives or more. So they are not considering that Krishna can marry 16,108 wives at once.
No, but there's two sides of the picture, right? One side they accept, one side they don't. What side
Yes.
do they accept?
They think Krishna as like themselves.
Yes, right.
And that's why they make they make own conclusions. Means they consider that everything.
Right. They're thinking Krishna's an ordinary because they see Krishna in family life, mundane life. He has his wife, he has his house, and so they think Krishna is just like us. So they accept him like that, but they don't accept the other side. Other side, 16,000 wives, not just one wife, 16,000 plus wives.
Yes.
So that's the
Thank
other
you.
side. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Group number 6.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, where it's also speaking on 37, 38, and 39. So some of the points are quite similar, but we'll just go over them.
Please go over them.
First point is the Lord is transcendental. So his associates are also transcendental. They're part of his internal potency. And the Lord has different relationships in the spiritual realm. And he brought all those relationships and his devotees to the material realm. So also the Lord is just playing, he is transcendental, but he's playing as a husband. He's playing, I think it's mentioned as a henpecked husband, but actually he's completely transcendental.
So who are these associates?
His wives.
All 16,000?
I think so. Is perhaps
Yeah.
Yeah, 16,000, 108 wives, They're all part of his potency or internal potency. Also, it's described that Prabhupada mentions in the purport that even the devotees do not know him perfectly well. So then he kind of chides the mental speculators. So what chance have you got of understanding the position of the Lord? And he mentions that the Lord can only be known actually by his mercy alone. And then the Lord it's mentioned in the Shruti and Smriti that the Lord is not affected by Mahamaya. He's situated in Yoga Maya. He is nirgun, which means he has no material qualities. He's completely transcendental. And then finally, it's mentioned that the Mahabhagavat devotees are transcendental. What to speak of the Lord himself? Mentions that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So the Mahabhagavat devotees are transcendental. Certainly the Lord has nothing to do with the material energy. He's above that.
Yeah.
But this is Leela, and he's performing his pastimes with so many great devotees, pure souls who have also come from the spiritual world to take part in his pastimes. Okay, so let's just go back to the slideshow. We'll just finish this off. Yeah, Krishna's queens in Dvārakā. Remember, they're expansions of his internal potency. And thus the potent, meaning Lord Krishna, and the potencies, the queens, are perpetually exchanging transcendental pleasures, known as pastimes of the Lord. And you can see in the picture some of the pastimes. Lord Krishna with his queens on the elephant, and the queens are all there receiving him. From the Chaitanya Bhagavat, it is stated in the Gopal Tapani Upanishad that the queens of Krishna are also related to him as belonging to the category of his Swarup Shakti. Therefore, in their position as Swarup Shakti, they are necessarily of the same position as Lakshmi. In other words, They're all goddesses of fortune. All 16,000 plus. They're all goddesses of fortune. And they've come to take part in the Lord's pastimes. A further quote from 37. Mental speculators compare everything from the standpoint. Thus, when the Lord is found to act like an ordinary person in matrimonial bondage, they consider him to be like one of them, without considering that the Lord can at once marry 16,000 wives or more. So we may think, oh, Krishna's a henpecked husband, oh, he's in bondage, he's in Maya. We call it deep well, right? The dark well, the andakupam, greha andakupam, the well of family life. But Krishna is not like that. He's not like us. He's above that. He can marry 16,000 wives at once. Okay, so we spoke about this transcendental nature of Krishna's exchanges. A little quote here. He married only 16,000 wives and entered in each and every one of the different palaces just to impress in the history of the human beings on the surface of the earth that the Lord is never equal to or less than any human being, however powerful he may be. No one, therefore, is either equal to or greater than the Lord. The Lord is always great in all respects. God is great, is eternal truth. From the purport, text number 31, chapter 11. One more. When the Lord descends, he does so along with his entourage to display a complete picture of the transcendental world where pure love and devotion for the Lord prevail without any mundane image. Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Any question, any comment from anyone? Anybody?
Yes, Maharaj?
Yes, Prabhu?
I was just thinking about this connection with Narada Muni, which he enters into Dvārakā and went to the different palaces of the Lord, and he saw different activities which Krishna had in these different palaces, and how Narada Muni, when he went to the first palace, he saw Krishna in one situation, and he praised to the Lord that he wanted to give him some benediction, and he was praying that he can remember him always. So, and then he enters in different other palaces, and he saw Lord in different other occupation duties in these palaces. So in this way, he realized that Krishna gave him the opportunity to remember these different pastimes. So
okay.
It was just.
Yes, that's nice. Narada Muni visiting Krishna in Dvārakā. He saw the inconceivable opulence of Lord Krishna, performing different pastimes in different places with different wives. Okay, thank you, Prabhu. So I talked, Padma Sundari asked me about the open book question for this unit. So we selected text question number 3, which is about mood admission, relating to Maharaj Yudhishthira, the beginning of chapter 10, right? So you want to be working on your essay, that's the topic. Pick some quotations about mood admission from that section and discuss about ISKCON and how much we're fulfilling Prabhupada's desire for the mood admission of ISKCON. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.